So no, I am not currently dying. I don't have cancer, I don't have COVID-19, though this is an interesting time for me to be putting this video out. This is an idea that I have had for probably over a year now, and the idea is that in case I were to die, that I can put out conversations that I would like to have with my kids here on YouTube. I was thinking for a while that they would be unlisted, but then the thing is, it's like, I feel like now that I've started to have these conversations with my children, that they would be conversations that anyone would like to potentially have with their children, or conversations that friends could have, coworkers could have, coaches with athletes could have. So I feel like there is a lot of value that can happen with these. In case I die, I would like to potentially have a conversation with you about a subject that maybe a lot of people don't want to talk about or are afraid to talk about. So we're going to have some of those here on YouTube as an archive, as a journal for my children, in case anything were to happen, in case I were to pass away early, and then also hopefully for you guys out there on the internet, on YouTube, to try to find some information on, maybe a little bit of education if I can pass that on to you, but then also, while I am still here, for you to teach me a thing or two. So let's get into it. First one, let's talk nutrition. You might be thinking, Brian, this is kind of a little weird. I don't understand what is happening. We watched the movie Onward, and this was really the trigger for me that made me realize I don't know what's gonna happen. I could get sick. I may not be here for the rest of my kid's life. And watching that movie really said, Brian, start putting some of your thoughts down. Have conversations here that you maybe can't have with a 7-year-old right now, but that you want to be out there for your 13-year-old son, for your 20-year-old son, for your children as they go on through the world. So again, I don't mean to be too creepy with the in case I die, but it was that movie that really made me think about the fact that it's like, no, I might not be here at some point throughout my life. So I'd love to be able to make it to 100, but in case I don't, let's get a little awkward and have some hard conversations. So why a nutrition talk, right? Well, it all started because my 13-year-old daughter currently, well, she is 13 right now, Kaylin, she was in the kitchen cooking something, so I went over there to ask her, hey, Kaylin, what are you cooking? And she said, well, I'm cooking some healthy mac and cheese. I said, what do you mean by healthy? She goes, well, it's Ann's mac and cheese, which is healthy. It's healthier for you than Kraft. And I said, well, why? Like, what does that mean? Like, what is healthy to you? And she said, well, I don't really know. Like, other people have told me that it's healthier for you. The word healthy, it is such a marketing term, and it's very interesting that she latched onto that. And so I kind of wanted to dive in a little bit to talk about how that's a marketing term and how we need to try not to use terms like healthy when it comes to talking about food. She kind of had that blank look that you would assume that a 13-year-old would have, and so I kind of tried to high level talk about balance of food, the fact that what food is made up of, and that's why they're called macronutrients, right? The bigger portion of the nutrients that build up. So carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. And so though this healthy Ann's mac and cheese might have better ingredients, that it is still, one, very processed, and two, it still has an abundance of carbohydrates opposed to a nice balance of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. That was kind of the way that I wanted to shift the conversation, and so we had it. It was a good conversation, but the overall goal, the place that I want to take this for this video, the idea of putting out information for either her or my other children in later on in life, so they might be able to find this, or for maybe y'all, and to get some thoughts out to you guys, but then also to be able to learn from y'all, to get your thoughts on what I've now put out there, and how we can kind of grow this conversation around nutrition. Try not to use the word healthy when you're talking about food. Healthy, organic, natural, these are all marketing terms, right? And so natural, whole food, good ones to use, but again, like, or just because a food is organic and maybe doesn't have any GMOs and no pesticides were ever used on it, that doesn't mean that if you only eat organic gummy bears that you're eating healthy. That is not how this works. So try to think about, when you're talking about food, to think about it in a much more balanced sense, and so that I am eating a balanced meal, not a healthy meal. And when you think about a balanced meal, that brings us, well, what does that look like? How do we talk about food in more of a balanced sense than when we think about it in healthy? the right way to think about food is in that balance. And if you want a good starter, is to think about how you should eat is about 40% carbohydrates, 40% protein, and 30% fats. That should equal about 100%. And you can play with that. No, that doesn't work for everybody, and everybody will be different. And if I am literally putting this out there, again, for either my children or other people, if you're looking for a place to start, that is a good place to start. We just mentioned percentages. Oh my gosh, how do I know what is in a food? Look at the nutrition labels. They are on there for a reason. Should you be looking at them every single time you have a food? Yes. Period. Why? And no, you don't need to be doing all of the math. What you should be doing is you should be kind of like quickly having that 40-40-30 idea, or whatever your breakdown is of said macronutrients, kind of, wait, that food that I ate earlier, that was mainly carbohydrates. I need to find something that is higher in protein, higher in fat now to eat again, so that throughout the day we're eating more balanced. Not every single meal or snack that you have needs to be 40-40-30. What you need to kind of look at is the entire day as you go through of that 40-40-30. So if you were to have sugar, or sorry, if you were to have cereal for breakfast, which would be a ton of carbohydrates, you know, okay, cool. Let's go find some cheese. Let's go find some turkey. Let's not add a bunch of condiments and bread later on for lunch and or for dinner. That is a much better way to make sure that we're reading our labels and know that we find a way to kind of break down how we're getting that kind of balanced food in throughout the day. Balanced foods, oh my gosh. Again, healthy, organic, natural. Dude, what we want is whole foods. We want unprocessed whole foods. That's the way that we want to eat. Yes, can we get a bag of Doritos every now and again and eat it? Sure, absolutely. Just know that that is not how we should be snacking and or eating every single day, every single week throughout the year of our life. So I'm gonna go straight to CrossFit. Greg Glassman, what is fitness? So eat meat, vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, and no sugar. Keep intake to levels that will support exercise, but not body fat. And I think one thing that's a great example here is I had again, in our nutrition conversation with Kaylin, was eating an apple versus drinking apple juice. Apple juice is processed. What happens during that processing, all the other nutrients that come along with eating that apple are taken away. So that apple, even though it's not designed, that apple has all the nutrients that your body needs to eat it, to dissolve it, to utilize all the pieces and parts that our body needs. Where when you drink that apple juice, you are only drinking what is left over from when they processed that apple. So when you're trying to find whole foods, think about that. Like, you want to eat the original food, the apple, as it came from nature, organic, non-organic, don't get crazy. Opposed to say, I'm drinking apple juice, which means I am eating a healthy whole food. That is not the case. Last bit of advice, hopefully for you children out there to take with this. When you snack, snacking is okay. We all snack. I love having cottage cheese and mixed nuts. Those are my two favorite snacks. But even I don't just take the container and go sit down and eat. Right? Because then that allows you to overeat. You say, I'm only gonna have a handful, but then the thing is you had a handful for an hour as you sat there, and you might have finished the container. You may have eaten 4 times the amount of food that you wanted to. So it's very easy to overeat when you just walk to the pantry, grab the container, go sit down with it, and just eat right out of that container. Best thing to do, even if you do this 2 or 3 times, get a cup. Put the nuts in there. Get a small piece of Tupperware. Put that food in there, that guacamole that you're gonna eat with your chips. Again, put your chips in a bowl. Don't take the bag out there. That keeps you from overeating. Again, even if you do that 2 or 3 times, you've now made the conscious decision to stand up, go refill your bowl, and move a little bit, and it's going to satiate your body some. Things are gonna move around, and you might go, you know what? I feel good. I'm actually not hungry anymore. I'm not gonna go refill. So that's a tip. I try to keep away from those, but I think that that's a really good one that has helped keep me from kind of those days when I would sit down on the couch and or watch movies, Netflix and chill, and overeat. So take that for what it's worth. Hopefully that helps you guys a little bit there for number 5, my one tip for this video. So if you are one of my children that are watching this video and I've passed on. I hope that you guys are doing great in life. I really do. I'm 40 right now. I hope that I make it to 100. I hope that I get to see you guys grow up and be adults, and I hope I get to see grandkids and do all that stuff. But again, life is crazy, man. It's weird. I could get sick. I could walk. I could go for a run and get hit by somebody. I want to try to leave you guys with a little bit of a legacy from me. Again, on top of that, I hope that anybody that's watching this that is not one of my children, which is probably going to be a much higher number, I hope that you've gotten some information out of this. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, rebuttals, things of that nature, that is what the comments are for. Not only is it going to help educate me on other things that I could try to think about in this nutrition realm, it could potentially even help my children. Again, if they find this later in life and want to come look at their dad a little bit and talk to them, and just kind of sit here and hang out. So I thank you guys for watching. So in case I die, it's an unfortunate thing to think about, but I want to be proactive in this and leave a legacy for my children. I hope that's not too weird. If there are topics that you would like to have discussions with, message me about that. I think this could even be much bigger than just a couple videos for me to put out there. So I have some ideas. So if anybody else has conversations they want to have with their children or to leave for their children, message me, please. That would be great. I'd love to be able to help you get those out into the world. So remember, thank you. We'll see you on the internet. And I am Brian Pierce, your purveyor of awesome.